see that scoreboard, we just got asked.
Yeah. That's much bigger than that.
So we gonna have workouts tomorrow at 2 a.m. Up on the hill. If you're late, I'm firing your mother. We gonna bear crawl all the way to McDonald's and go get me a McChicken. And we gonna bear crawl back.
Yes, sir.
Get up.
Yeah, even though Richard did kind of say my story, I want to. Everybody looks at like the product, like how I've been in the last 6-7 months, but I focus more on like the process rather than the product. So that goes into like sports. Like, people focus on the game on Saturday instead of the process to the game. And so what I want to share is like my story, how I got right here, and then I want to go through kind of like what I learned in the last 6, 7, 8 months that I've been here to help you guys. All right. So to start off, here's a quote that I always loved. All right, if you want to write it down, you can. Discipline, because just like what, it's crazy, because I'm a very disciplined person, and Richard even said it, like discipline. So this quote actually works. Discipline is sacrificing the life you want to live right now for the life you want to live later. And so I learned that when I was 10 years old. You know, I was a 10-year-old kid who was waking up at 6 a.m. working out. You know, I was a 10-year-old kid who, instead of going out on Friday to the roller skating ring, I was on the field, sprinting. At 10 years old, 10, 11, 12. Throughout high school, I was waking up at 3 a.m. to go, I lived in Pleasant Grove, so I lived right by the Skyline. 3 a.m., 3:45, I was already on the field of the Skyline. I was already running, you know, because I already had that discipline because I was 14, 15, 16, 17, like, I'm going to play D1 and I'm going to be in the NFL. You know, and so that's the discipline I had at that young age, which once I got here, I was already disciplined enough. There's still stuff I needed to work with, right? So, I don't know how I'm gonna say all this. But yeah, so you guys, y'all think that it came easy like this last 6 to 8 months, but literally my whole life prior to this has been rough. A lot of stuff, even sports, life, things like that. And there's certain parts of my life that I wanna go over, and even here, like, y'all think I didn't struggle? I struggled a lot. Like, you can ask Richard, I messed up so many times with stupid stuff, but either way, I learned from it. And just like what he said, like, I messed up quicker. I did it faster. So for me, I was born in Minnesota. Where's Sarah at?
Minnesota.
I don't even know where Brainerd ever was. Like, I'm from the real area of Minnesota. She's from like some country place where bears and werewolves live. It's country. But so I grew up there, and my family got divorced when I was like around 1, so I never really had my dad. So that's why I love sports, because my coaches were always my dad. And we moved down here because it got rough for my mom after a while, after her second marriage was a divorce. And we moved down here. And halfway down here, her job calls her that she had a text and was like, hey, like, never mind, we can't offer you the position. So we left everything back in Minnesota, and we're in Kansas by this time. And I didn't even know this story until this reporter from Abilene did a whole report on my mom or something like that. I read it. I was like, well, what the tell me all this? I just thought we just moved down here and we were broke. Like, no, she lost her job on the way over here. And so we stayed at a hotel or a Motel 6 for like a whole year. You know, and so the only thing I could learn was just watch football on TV. And up there it's just all basketball. And so once I came out, I was like, I want to try football. You know, so I got into middle school, and then this one team came out. There's a Lake Highland Wildcats. Anybody know Lake Highland High School? Yeah. I played for the Pee Wee team. Them boys were cold. And so I sucked. I showed up the first day with like knee-high socks. You know, at that time, it's ankle socks was a thing. So they already think I play soccer. So everybody was calling me soccer ball player. You know, and so my mom y'all see my mom, she's a social butterfly. She's already talking to the other moms during the tryouts. And they were telling her like, oh, you know, he's from Minnesota, like this is first. She's like, yeah, like he'll do it. And they're like, oh no, he's gonna quit. Like in the heat, yada yada, he's gonna quit. He's done. Like don't worry, because she was afraid about it, and they were like, don't worry, he'll quit after like the first game, and then he'll go back to basketball. You're good. Don't worry about it. So I was hearing stuff like that, but then what really triggered me, which made me have that underdog mentality, was that day, because we did the 40-yard sprints. For all of us, like, I don't know, we're like 9, 10, 11-year-olds, and you got to do the 40-yard sprint to see who's the fastest. Everybody's going, they're racing twos, and I get up, And so I get up, and the head coach is right here, and as I step on the line, he just laughs. He's like, this ain't even fair. And I look, and there's this one guy right here, he's just shredded up, you know, I'm just, and so he's just shredded up. His name was Racing Stripes. If your nickname is Racing Stripes, that obviously means you fast as heck. You know? I met him back in high school when we were both doing track, and he still kept the same name, and he always won the 100-meter dash. You know, so he was fast. And so I was like, everybody laughing, and the head coach was like, this isn't even fair. Go! And before he said go, I said, oh, I'm finna dust this boy. Like, he don't know nothing about me. I said, I'll work my ass off. He said, go. I get down, I'm running. I look, he already finished. I was like, damn. But that whole year, I sucked. Like, I was terrible. I played left guard, nose guard, corner. I was all special teams. Scout team. I did everything they needed. I hiked the ball, I kicked, anything but playing the game. I was that bad. And I was actually bullied. The whole time the only people who liked me was the cheerleaders. They called me pretty boy. That was the only ones. Everybody else hated me for some reason, because I really sucked. Like, if you threw me the ball, it's going and I would just always look lost. But that whole year, it just built my mentality, because like, it was terrible how these people would bully me. You know, my mom would get in fights with my teammates' parents of how bad they were treating me, because I was that terrible. And I think the only way I knew I could beat them was just by working harder than them. So I was like, you know what, I can't beat them on the field, so the only way I could beat them was just doing laps when we get in trouble or during warm-ups. And so every time when we do laps, I'd try and beat all the starters. And I was so focused on trying to beat them, I would actually be looking back like this, running. Looking at them, making sure they're all the way at the backside, and I'm getting cussed out, quit looking back! You know, and so that created my work ethic. Is like, I'm trying to beat everybody as possible. And the next year, one of the coaches who was an assistant, whatever it was, he created his own team. He said, he's seen my work ethic just doing laps, and he said, I'm going to train you, and you're going to go to the NFL. And I'm an 11-year-old. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, let's do it. And so I trained all summer that year, and I came out as one of the top wide receivers in select football of North Dallas at the time. And by that point, that's when I get into like 7th, 8th grade, and that's when my hard work as a young age started putting in, and that's when I became pretty good. And I get to high school, I went to Woodrow Wilson, which is in East Dallas, it's a DISD school. All right, DISD, baby. Right in the hoods. Oh, all right. Exactly. And this is when I became an underdog again, because no matter where I played, I was always number 2 or number 3. I was never number 1. And I believe I shared this story with Jared on his first day in the field. And that's how me and him connected, because I share this. I've never been number 1. Like, in high school, I was always underlooked. You know, there's always somebody else ahead of me. And I always, even though I worked my butt off, all throughout high school, every person I worked my butt off harder than, they always got something better. You know, all my friends, they went to TCU, Alabama, and they sucked their senior year. But I had I finished with almost, I believe, 53 touchdowns in high school. You know, and at this point, I didn't have no offers at the time. All mines came in the last week. So I'm like, why is it like I work my ass off and I don't get what I want? And so I was like, so from the get-go, I'm like, every time I'm working, I never get the results that I want. Which over time, in a decade, it was just a workhorse, because I'm just working, because I'm trying to get that self-fulfillment. And I finally get Abilene Christian to call me. And at this point, I'm like, man, I don't want to go here. I always want to go to like Alabama or Ohio State, go to some big D1. I don't want to go to the small D1. Tyler, no, they were terrible at the one time. Yeah, they were. Now, once I came, we were developing a big D1 to where now we play in front of 15, 20,000, 40,000, 50, 60. But at first, I was like, I'm not about to play in front of some grandmas and stuff and some Christians. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But I humbled myself and I went to Abilene Christian. But I told myself when I was going to commit, I said, you know what? They're just transitioning to D1. I'm going to be, just because they're transitioning, I'm going to take that leap of faith. And I'm going to be one of the biggest guys that come out of there, just because, like, while I was looking at OU, because I was getting recruited out of OU, I said, if I go there, they already had Adrian Peters. They already had these other running backs. I'm going to just be an average Joe compared to them. But if I go to a school that's already developing, and I put in the same work ethic I've been doing, it'll work out. And so I went to ACU, and first 2 years, is still rough. You know, you just have to learn. D1 is not easy, no matter where you play at. And I know a lot of people have been asking me like, hey, are you nervous? Are you nervous to go out to LA? I'm like, no, I'm prepared. Because the same thing, I redshirted my freshman year, and so I came out, it was my second year in college, and we were going to play Air Force on national television. I'm 19, about to play on TV, and you go out of the stand, or you go out of the tunnel, you look up, and their whole stadium is in a mountain, and it's 50,000 people. I'm like, ooh, you know, and then my coach was like, you nervous? I'm like, there's 50,000 people watching you. And I was like, I worked my ass off for the last 10 years just to get right here. I said, I'm already prepared. Like, so I'm good. And he was like, all right. And literally the third quarter, I had an 80-yard touchdown on national television, you know, because I already put in the work. And so that's when once I did that touchdown, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to the league. I was like, yeah, I'm going. And so then senior year comes. After my senior year, I finished second in touchdowns. I competed against, what was his name? Who's the running back for the Colts? Jonathan Taylor. You know? We were competing neck and neck for the last like 4 weeks of who would have the most touchdowns in Division I. And so that's when I was like, okay, I got a shot. And I remember one time once the season ended, I had like 14 different agents that I could have chose out of. You know, because I was up here. Like, this is when my life, I was like, you know what, this is what I've been working my 10, 14 years for. This is where it's at. Like, yeah, like, I got this agent, my mom's talking to this agent, I'm talking to this one. I'm like, I don't like him. He ain't talking good enough about the money. Like, I don't want, where are we going? I was actually going to LA at one point with one agent. And I decided to go with this Christian-based agent who's my best friend to this day. And I was training for the NFL, and I was doing my dream. Since I was 10, 11 years old, when I made the choice, I was like, you know, I'm going to the league, even though I suck, I'm going to the league. I worked my butt off, and then COVID happened. You know, and we can't control things like that. And for me, it was rough. That's when I went into a depression mode, because I was up here. I had 4th round draft grades from some teams, 5th round, 6th rounds, and 7th rounds. And then because of COVID, it was just like, we'll think about it. So I was getting little pity pats on the back from different coaches. I was getting workouts and things like that, but it just wasn't clicking. And every time I kept doing something, every time I get an opportunity, there was something that happened. Like when I went down to Houston, I believe it was over the summer, last summer, I went down to Houston for my last workout. There was supposed to be 13 other NFL teams who wanted to see me, but something happened to where they had to change their time, and I only was left with just the Texans to watch. So that happened like 4 times where I was like, okay, I don't know what y'all believe, if it's God or a plastic turtle, whatever you want. Wind, earth, wind, and fire. But for me, I believe in God. And I felt since it wasn't working after a while, it was like God saying, like, bro, you need to relax. Like, this isn't for you. The NFL isn't for you right now. And I still didn't listen. I was hard-headed. Just like, there's another thing that I'm going to go over of what I learned is like being hard-headed, not listening to like Richard or your upline. I was hard-headed. I wasn't listening to my gut. I wasn't listening to my God. And he was like, bro, just stop. Like, I got you. Trust it. You've been putting the work in. It's not for this. It's for something else. And I was like, no, it's not for this. Like, I'm playing football. I want to make money. I want to be on TV. I want all the women. You know, I want to do all that. It's not fun. But yeah. And that's when the guy was like, all right, you don't want to listen? Bet. So when I went down to Texas, or to the Texans, I caught COVID from him. Because I already had knee surgery like 3 weeks beforehand, and I already pushed it. It's a 6 to 8 week rehab. I rehabbed in 3 weeks. I was drugged. I took so many drugs just to not feel the pain and all that. Yeah, that's how it is. But I had to do what I had to do. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a story that I tell my kids, you know. I'm in the league now because I had to drug up my knee and stuff like that. And my immune system was already broken down because of the surgery and all the drugs and stuff. That's where I caught COVID from. And I didn't catch the small COVID. The little COVID. I caught Delta variant. I was in the hospital for like 3 days. Like I was passing in and out at one point, about to die. Like my family was calling me. I was already repentant for all my sins. That's how bad it was. And for some, I don't know how. I don't remember applying, but then I get a call from Claire. Like when I'm a day or two out of it, and I was like, wow. Like, who is this? She was like, yeah, you set up there. I said, look, I just got on COVID. Like, if you give me like another week, let me just relax. My knee hurts and my body hurts. I'll be good. And I come in here, And then that's where I started here. And now I want to go over like what I learned from the program from once I went through all that BS in the last year and a half, and what I learned here and how it helped me, and what I went through in the last 10 to 12 years, and how did they get me through the last, how long have I been here?
7 months.
You started in August?
I thought I started.
I had COVID in August, and it was your first week, wasn't it?
Okay. End of August,
End of
early
August.
September, something like that.
So,
Oh.
20 months until the end of August, we got the end of July.
10 months.
10 months.
10 months? So the last 10 months compared to the last 10 years, I've been working my butt off. But what I learned from the program, which was good, was sell out to the business. Because by this point, like you can ask Cassandra when we were doing breakdowns and stuff, like by this point I was already, like, even though I went through, I qualified my first week into leadership. And then Richard was like, okay, that was too easy. I'm gonna give you a different qualification the next week. And I still got it the second week, you know? And so even though I did all that, I still wasn't sold to the business because with my mind, Cassandra helped me out with this and my mom, I was not sold because I put in the last 10 years for something and it was ripped away. I didn't want to fully commit to something. I wasn't ready to fully commit to this and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put my heart and soul like it did for the last 10 years just for it to not work out. Just for, let's say the business closes down or something. I didn't want to feel that anymore, so I was still timid. You know? And then Cassandra helped me out with my mentality with that, as well as Danny. I give a lot of props to Danny. He showed me the business through the numbers. That's what sold me, because he showed me like just doing the numbers and all that. I was like, hold on, so I can make the same amount of money as if I was in the league, if I'm chilling in the AC and going to the field, and I don't gotta ram my head into another grown man the size of Donald over here. I'll take it. I said, because I still gotta do like 3 surgeries right now, because I'm just banged up. So I was like, bet. So that's when I got into business. So the first one I want to tell everybody is sell out to the business. I was talking to Alante yesterday about it, and he said something good. It's like, think about people who go into medical school, doctors or lawyers. You think they're like, with it, or are they all sold out for it? Why?
That's their plan to do. But they have to go all in or else they're gonna quit.
Exactly.
It's a long
And they
process.
just wasting money.
Yeah.
Here, you're not wasting money, but you're wasting time if you want to quit. So sell out. We sell all day, but you can't sell yourself to the business. Yeah, that's nice. We sell all day, but you can't sell yourself to the home business you're working for. But yeah, so just like that. And what took me a long time is I had to learn how to sell out for the business, just like how I sold out for football when I was 10 years old, which made me want to wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to work out. Same reason why I wake up at 5 a.m. now, just to come up here and try and beat Tommy every day, you know, because I sold out to the business. Second one, reach out for help. This was a big one for me. You can ask Richard. I like to tell about the North Carolina story with this one. That's a rough one. So I went out there for 2 weeks, and I kept Richard out of the dark for like the first 4 days because like I wasn't good at communicating, you know. And the only time when I learned I needed to start reaching out was when my team, Brad and Key, left, and it was just me there trying to help this one office start up. And I was down on my knees, yo. I was in the field, in the office. I didn't want to fly back. I was like, I'll just live here in the mountains or something. Like, I did not want to go back over here because it was just so rough. Like, I can't tell you guys, like, I don't even know what it was, like why it was so hard for me over there, but just something there that I seen that I just did not like, and I did not want to be in that environment. You know? And so I had to learn how to reach out to Richard about it, as well as Chang. You know, I learned I didn't have a relationship with Richard at the time, even though I had somewhat of a relationship, but it was not as close as it is now until I got back and he seen like my hard work that I was willing to do for everything. But that's one thing I learned is to reach out for help, because it's the same thing. Like, don't suffer in silence. Like, I knew this when it came to football, to reach out for help. Like, if I didn't know a play and I didn't reach out to my coach about it, on Saturday when you're playing in front of a few thousand people and you're the only one who false starts and you see everybody, oh, You know, it's embarrassing. You don't want to suffer in silence, so you want to always reach out. And I don't know why I struggle with that here. But then once I clicked, and I was like, okay, I need to learn how to reach out to even people here, treat Richard and Tommy like my coaches, and it's the same thing. All right. Third, speaking of reaching out, y'all see this name? Can y'all read this name right here? Richie. You should communicate with this man 24/7. Like, does everybody? Who's our promoting owner? Okay. Who's our promoting owner? Okay, so if he's the one who has your next 15, 20, 30 years in his hands, why aren't you communicating with him 24/7? I told everybody last time, like, when Danny was here, I was talking to Richard one day and I seen Danny was pinned. How many of us got iPhones? You got iPhones? Who do you pin on your contacts? The people you talk to the most, right? So if Danny finished in 4.5 months, about to get promoted, and he's pinned under Richard, obviously that means there's a connection. And so when I made that click, I was like, So it is about the work ethic you have, but if you don't build a relationship with Richard, then he can't invest in you because there's no relationship. And so I knew, and I told Alante this, I was like, in order for somebody to get promoted, you have to get pinned. So that's why I tell everybody, hashtag get pinned. And not these pins. Hashtag get pinned. If you're not pinned on Richard's iPhone, it's not you. You're not that guy. So be that guy. All right? And that's what I learned with that one. And fourth one, there's another one. So everybody thinks it was all swisher sweet for me.
So I don't know if you caught it, but he said that if you don't have an iPhone, basically. That's what he tried to say.
That means you're not getting promoted. Ask Brad.
I'm just kidding a little.
Getting a little. Ask Brad.
What happened, Brad?
Brad, that's right. Brad, you have an Android, huh?
Yep.
Look at them old things.
AirPods.
AirPods.
They be there for 3 days. He's still walking in. Hold on, man.
He also had a hair. And then he started growing. And then Brad got an iPhone and he started, and his growth started.
Okay, then another one. When you want to quit, go harder. This is everything I've been learning. I got one more, but this is everything that I feel will help you guys, each one. But this one for sure. We all wanted to quit. I wanted to quit. Y'all think I come in happy and I flew through this, but I still wanted to quit. The people who've been with me, Highland Park. Everybody knows Highland Park?
Highland Squad.
Is it Highlands or Highland?
Highland.
Highland Park. I'm gonna give y'all a little story. This is what showed me the business, and that's when it clicked for me. Because I got sent to Highland Park. If anybody doesn't know what Highland Park is, if you're out of Dallas and stuff, Highland Park is the top 5 richest neighborhood in America. That's where Jerry Jones lives. That's where Mark Cuban lives. That's where my quarterback, his family is rich. They own Encompass Health. That's where they all live. Like 13-car garage. Like, beautiful. They got money. But you send me here, and it's my first month. And I think it was my first month or second month. But this will always be one of the most things I'll remember, is because it was rough. I had the worst day ever. I was getting no after no. I don't even know why so many people were home. Like, I had 160 doors, and I probably talked to at least 100 people. And they, all right, now I'm good. Now I'm good. I don't want it. There's a guy who came down in an elevator to answer the door. So I'm, water! You know? And like that's, and I asked, I was like, how much is this house? 3.4 mil? Yeah, the G-Wagon in this lot. I was like, oh my. And this is when I reached out to Richard, you know, because I was still working on my communication. And I cussed Richard out. Like, this is BS. Like, I literally told him, I said, I'd rather see you and Tommy come out here and show me how to do this. because y'all can't even do it. And so I was going on for 5 minutes, you know, just sitting on a little curb, you know. And Richard, his good people skills, still quiet. And I finished, and then he was like, "So what do you want me to do?" And I was like, "Right, like what can I do? Like what can he do?" And Richard, what clicked for me for the whole business is when he said, like even with this situation, is like everything out there is temporary, but it's the filter. Because what I remember when he was talking to me, he was like, you think I can just go to Nestle and say, like, we can't go here? Like, no, that's our job. But either way, what we do out there, that's a filter. That's how I'm going to find my next owner. You know? And I was like, I said, so what do you mean by that, Richard? And he's like, look, if you can't handle no's, what makes you think you can't handle losing $20,000 in your bank account? If you can't handle people telling you no. And so he was like, are you gonna quit? You lose $30,000 and you have a whole office, you're gonna quit on them just because you get mad at something? And I was like, so this is just, the field is just building your mindset for an owner. And when I realized that, I was like, damn. So that's why I've been telling Alante for the last month and a half, like, bro, let's go back to Highland Park. Because now I understand the whole business, and I have that mindset of an owner to where I can still go out there, and I believe I can get at least 3 people. But my work ethic is gonna get me there. Am I gonna get it? We don't know, unless you try it. But either way, that's what I like to say about this is when you want to quit, go harder. Because when he told me that, I started running the doors. Guess what? I still got no's. But either way, I kept running, and I still had that same mindset. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be a part of that filter. You know, I'm going to be on it. And that's the mindset I had with that. But then the last one that I learned with all this, 5, my biggest one. It's care for others. Because I always played sports, me and Alonzo were joking about it because when I said orientation, but since I always played sports, I learned how to be friends with everybody. You know, I played on a football team with all Asian people. You know? So, you know, I played on basketball teams that was just all like Middle Eastern people. All my best friends are from different countries. And so I learned just because of sports, I learned how to make friends with anybody. And when I came here, I knew how to build relationships because football, it's a sport where it's 11 on 11. If one person does something wrong, somebody's finna get a concussion. You know, thank God I never got a concussion that I know of. If I did, I just lied about it. Because if you get a concussion in college, you're out for 2 weeks. You know, and sometimes they're like, you're still playing. Like, you get a concussion if they need you that game. No, you playing. They told me you playing. You know, but I learned because of sports to care for others. You know, I put my team before me every time. And it's the same thing I did here. I put my team before me. So with Brad, like I always spend time with Brad. Like that's why he shouted me out. I was on the phone with him last night. What time was it? Like 11 or something? No, 11. Just talk about random stuff. I was on the phone with Keith. You know, we just always talking. Even Charlie, who's in Charlotte, because me and him are like brothers, he still calls me. He still reaches out. Charlie, he bought me a motorcycle, and I didn't even know how to ride it. Like, it's just still sitting in his garage because like, I'm afraid of motorcycles. I wanted it, but I wasn't gonna ride it. But caring for others is how you get through the business because if you show people that you care, they're gonna push harder. Like, they're gonna push harder for you when things get rough. I know this one person, I forgot who it was, but they were saying like, how do they retain people, or whenever stuff gets hard, they just leave. I'm like, that's because you don't have a relationship with these people. So for people who have teams who are raising their hand, they want teams and all that, you have to build a relationship with them before you think, oh, this is my team. No, you have to build a relationship with them. That's doing one-on-ones and things like that. Because when stuff gets hard, they're gonna rely on you instead of relying on their family and listen to that and listen to those outside influences, telling them to quit. They're gonna come to you and be like, man, like I feel like quitting. Like, what do I do? I told Cass that before. I wanted to quit. And look at me. I'm here and Cass is over there. Because we helped each other out. And so what I want to go over everything. Sell out to the business. I learned that the hard way. I wasn't sold out for like 2 weeks. Reach out for help. This helps a lot when you're struggling. For new people, when you are struggling, do not just sit there and just keep knocking on doors. Take 5-10 minutes and reach out. For leaders, if you're struggling and you're not growing, reach out. Don't just come in here and just go to the board and just do the systems. Like, talk to Richard, Tommy, one of the top people, and say like, hey, I need help. I need to grow. You know, there's a lot of leaders here, but I'm not coming at you guys. All the leaders, question yourself, when's the last time did you ask for an interview? Because you're at that point to where you don't have to worry about sales. You got to build a team. If you don't build a team, then you're just going to treat this as a job instead of a career. So if you're a leader, ask yourself, when's the last time did I ask for an interview? And then challenge yourself on that. But then 3, Richard, communication. Who texted him just now? Anybody text him yet? No urgency, man. Okay, there you go, Dwight.
Like,
But either way, Richard, you should always reach out to Richard. Like, when I got back from Charlotte, every day I was sending him and Cassandra like just day breakdowns. It wasn't over my LOA, it was more mentality stuff. Like, yeah, he was doing this, Brad is here, Charlie's here, I'm feeling this, what do I do here, Zane is this, and stuff like that. I was more focused on that because it's my mentality I needed help with, my mindset. So he should be your number 1 person. Every time you wake up in the morning, he should probably be the last message you sent something. Good night, Richard, I love you. I don't know. Show something. Either way, like, I'm telling you guys, like, you're not gonna grow into this if you don't build a relationship with Richard first. It's just anything. It's like sports. You're not gonna get on the field if the coach don't know you. So it's the same thing here. If Richard doesn't know you, he's not gonna put that investment into you for necessity. Then 4, when you want to quit, go harder. Goes back to everything. This whole thing is just filtering out the weak-minded people so we can get those owners who, when they get into ownership and they lose 20,000, they're not gonna go crazy. They're like, oh, okay, we're gonna make it back. I'm going to the field, let's go. We'll make 20K this hour. That's the mindset we're looking for. And that's the mindset Richard wants. Because can we all agree that's the mindset Richard would say? If he lost 20K, he's like, all right, well, we're gonna make it in an hour. Because he's optimistic. That's what we're looking for. And that's what the field is. So when you want to quit, go harder. Understand why it's so hard. Understand why there's so much stuff that you got to go through just for this whole promotion. And the last one is 5, care for others. Put other people first before yourself. You're not going to grow unless people under you grow as well. And the people under them grow as well. So you want to have a family culture throughout this whole thing. Don't make it to where you're seeing people as numbers. You know? I don't really want to say I struggle with that, but because I'm a numbers guy, I was at one point, I'm like, okay, I need like 4 more leaders, I need 5, and Richard was calming down, like, man, you need to stop focusing on people as numbers and build relationships with them. And that's what really helped, to where I never lost a team. You know, I lost people, but I know, like, Tom, how many teams did you lose? 4. Okay. Richard, how many teams did you lose? 7. Monte, how many did you lose?
84,000.
What?
I was at 84,000. I was just joking.
Oh, 2. And for me, I always looked at other people's mistakes and seeing like, okay, whatever they did, I don't want to do. So I did the opposite. You know, I always heard from Cass, like, I wasn't building relationships with them. And so I was like, okay, so that's why you lost your team. Let me do the other, let me build relationships with everybody that I have, try and make it as close as possible to where we're basically a team. You know? Like a football team. Let's go on Saturday and play some 7-on-7. That's how close we are. And so that's 5. Care for others. All right? So what I want you guys to do, like if you're an entry level, like how can you do some of this to get you into leadership? All right? Are you not sold out? Have you been here for a little bit? Sell out more. Leaders, are you not reaching out? All right? Some of you leaders, do you even message Richard? When's the last time you actually called him? I text Richard all the time for nothing. I know Yvonne always texting Richard, you know? But question yourself with that. People who's in entry level, I know it's hard. It's tough right now. You're learning something new that usually you see people who are doing it in 3 days, 4 days, and you see people who do it in 3 to 4. I was the person when it was in sports, I sucked. So I wasn't just an instant good person in football. I had to work just like you guys will have to work for 3-4 weeks. I had to work for 10 to 8 years to get to a point where I was like, okay, I'm good. And you know what helped me with my work ethic when it comes to me not quitting for football? I'm gonna just go on a backstory. But the cool thing was, I remember I went into Walmart. It was Walmart at one time, and I was wearing all my ACU gear, the D1 stuff, and my girlfriend at the time, she was a D1 basketball point guard, and the cashier at Walmart was the captain of the football team who was bullying me. He's this tall now, and I'm 6 foot, and I'm like, oh wow. He was like, Tracy? And I was like, damn. Like, it's crazy how the roles switched just because off of work ethic, and I didn't want to quit. You know, and so there, it was always showing me like mentality, work harder. You always work harder than the people behind you, and work as hard as the people in front of you. And the last one, care for others. I know I harped on that a lot, but make sure you're caring for everybody you have, from your upline, downline, and crossline. But yeah, but just don't show up and think this is just a job. They show up and show out. I always like saying that. I think that was Roscoe Dash who said that. But when you wake up, have the mindset that I'm finna be the best person today, and when you go to bed, question yourself, did I put in that effort? Did I put in that 110 effort to be an owner? Or did I quit in office? Did I not ask for help? Did I quit in the field? Did I not get that extra sale? Question yourself every day, every day. Every time I wake up, I'm like, what can I do better? I really ask myself that. What do I need to work on? When I go to bed, I question myself on what I asked, what I had to work on. Did I do it? I feel like so many people here, the people who get stagnant throughout the training, you don't ask yourself, how can I get better? You just wake up and just go and do life. Or you let life do you. All right, so, yeah, you know, but either way, so those are the 5 things that helped me throughout the whole training, which allowed me just to go through this and fly through it. But y'all think y'all can use this? Yeah! All right, can I see some more promoted people? Yeah! Can I see some more promoted people? Yeah! All right.
We only make it 12:35.